we did an example of a phase 2 study, and we were looking at, hey, manual hours, let's pull in how much time is your billing compliance person using? Is your lawyer using? Is your operations person, your regulatory, your PI, your XYZ, right? All these people need to contribute to the development of that study. That was over 2,000 hours to basically design the protocol, to do all of the revisions, to get it to a point where it's reasonable so that then the regulatory people can write all the study plans in order to operationalize it, right?
What if I told you that clinical research teams are drowning in outdated manual processes, wasting hours, days, and even weeks on tasks that AI could handle in seconds? Today, we're talking about a real transformation in clinical operations, and I've got the perfect person to break it all down. Angie Schwab. She's a true trailblazer in AI-driven document management. She's the powerhouse behind Easy Research Solutions. She's helping research teams eliminate inefficiencies, ensure compliance from day one, and finally just take control of those endless document stress in clinical trials. We're going to break down why AI isn't just another tool. It's literally the key to staying ahead in clinical research. We're going to talk about how much time are you really wasting and what's the ROI of adopting AI. If you're in clinical research and you're still hesitant about AI, this conversation is going to change the way you see the industry forever. So let's get into it. Angie, welcome to the TMF Daily Podcast.
Thanks, Nicole. So happy to be here. Really excited to talk about TMF and AI and clinical research as a whole. I think we are really at that incredible position where the tides are swinging, and they're swinging really quickly. So it's an opportunity for people to grab the latest tech, to start evaluating it, start including it. But there's a lot to consider. And that's what I want to dive in today is how can you actually really select a good platform that fits your exact needs and your issues that you have. There's so many out there. So thank you for having me, and I'm excited to dive in.
Yes, we're excited to have you too. So let's talk a little bit about how does Easy Research Solutions take the weight off from the research teams and transform the way documents are created and managed?
Yeah, so a little bit of background about myself. So I've been in clinical research about 20 years. And during that time, I have been in documentation and study development pretty much the whole time. So like my passion is good documents, just like yours. But it takes the hundreds of hours and lots of the right people and all of that expertise, and all that has to come together. And in the past, it's been this revolving door where you write a draft and then you send it to your regulatory and then your legal and then your budget team and all the people. And it's like this drain where the person in the middle is exhausted by the end, and it's thousands of hours. So what I wanted to do is kind of just make life a whole lot simpler. It's just what? In a conversational kind of tone, tell me what you're doing. What kind of research are you doing? What are your endpoints? What are the participants, inclusion, exclusion, those types of things. And based on that, we can then write all of the documents in sync because it's all pulling from the same data set. So there's AI and then there's automation. So our platform uses both. And I think it's really important for the listeners to understand the difference. Sometimes people get that confused. They're like, well, AI does automate things. And yeah, but in this context, the importance is to understand content reuse. And that's why I say automation. Okay, so in research, you will have word plugins that can help you craft this section of a document and that section of a document, and they can be trained to do that. But having a platform that then can take that piece of data, let's say the study title, but then it populates it into all of the other documents. So you don't have to copy, paste.
Love that.
Reducing the manual errors and all of the work involved in that. That's what I refer to as automation. So AI is the chat GPT type interface that you're used to. Help me write this. Automation is how can we use that data and make sure that it is in every correct place in every single document that is needed for your trial. And so in essence, it's kind of like its own version of a TMF. Like it's your data study and everything relies on all those data inputs. So that's how we use it. We have an easy study builder. People answer their questions. Once the questions are answered, which can take anywhere from an hour to 8 hours, you have a really complicated study. It's a lot of data. But once that's built, every document is 15 seconds. The investigator brochure, 15 seconds, the protocol, statistical analysis plan, data management plan, etc. So it makes life so much faster when you have content reuse using automation. So as a team, I would say if people are evaluating, what do I need? Do I need AI? Do I need automation? If you are just doing one research study and you're pretty good at things and you're great at writing prompts, then maybe a word plugin is fine for you. And you're like, not a problem. I'll just pound out these documents and just a chat GPT or word interface is fine. If you're a prolific team where you've got to make all these study plans, your IB, your protocol, like we're talking major CROs, those types of individuals, big sponsors where billions of dollars is on the line, then you need an automation platform. Like that's how I make that differentiation. And so those are the people that we help because we love automation and love that content reuse.
So let's talk a little bit about like compliance. How does the AI ensure documents are in compliance literally from day one?
So AI is great at writing. Okay, people are worried about this idea of, oh, it's going to hallucinate. Yeah, it does. That's why you don't have it write like a lot of content at once. You've got to like give it bite-sized problems to solve and it can do that. Okay. So the way that I see AI being helpful in that is, let's say, for example, I've been a medical writer again for like 20 years, right? My first protocol was not good. The ones that I'm writing now, a whole lot better, right? The writing is only as good as the human right now. And AI can actually be built in a way that it says, oh, within this paragraph, you need to have these 4 things covered, in which case then it writes that versus a human trying to remember, what did I write in there? They copied and pasted from an old protocol. They thought it was good, but maybe it's not. So I see AI boosting compliance in that regard. If it's done well, it has the opportunity to boost compliance because you are reducing the amount of inconsistencies and just omissions that are in the documents.
I think you're absolutely right. Like you have to feed it the right prompts. If you're doing garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. And
Absolutely.
You still have to know the background of the regulations and verify, was that information accurate or correct?
That's right. Yeah. So the way we use AI is it helps you answer the questions, right? Like explain your estimands for your statistical analysis plan. So it can help you do that. But it also has directions on the side that helps the user understand, hey, did the AI do a good job? Are we really covering all of those points that's necessary? I think you have to have both. I also do not think it's a good idea for you to rely blindly on AI to just write something. As you said, AI does not know all the regulations in every country, in every region, and each IRB or each institution, right? It doesn't. Maybe someday it can, but right now it can't, you know?
Yeah. So let's talk about time, because time is of the essence. How much time are we really wasting on these outdated processes compared to if we used AI? Like, how much is it really speeding up?
Well, I can speak specifically in document generation, right? So we have done about 35 real world evidence protocols in the last 2 months. Those now in the past would probably take a few hundred hours a piece. We're now able to get them out in less than a day. The first draft is out and we're moving on and the team reviews it. And because it's so much better on the first draft, you don't have that cyclical over and over situation. So on average, we're only doing 3 drafts. That first one goes out, you give us the response, then we do the final little tweaks and edits for the third draft. I think it's going to accelerate trials by months just in study development.
That's fascinating.
It's going to be wonderful to get new drugs and devices into the market, but I am super excited about seeing how this is going to accelerate academic research. Mm-hmm. I came from that environment. I love it. I really, truly believe in the clinicians who are seeing the patients and they have these incredible ideas, but they usually are not the ones that are empowered with the tech or the resources or the people to bring those ideas to life. And that's what I want to empower ultimately.
I loved it. You nailed it right there. It's all about the empowerment. So how does Easy Clinical Research Solution sort of ensure that every protocol, like every consent form, the monitoring plan is aligned with those regulatory requirements in real time?
So I would say there's 2 ways. Number one, we work with each institution to create their template. So we already have it. We know it's in compliance with the regulations, but people like to have little special tweaks. Like, I like to have my confidentiality statement be this every time. I want my footer to be this every time. Like, that's totally okay. So number one, we built all of the templates based on ICH, NIH, those types of requirements, and making sure all the content that's requested in those documents is there. So that's built in. Second level is institution region wise building, because that's a whole nother level of compliance sometimes people don't even think about.
Yeah, that's
and by allowing us to build those templates for the institution, we can add in all of those nuances. So for example, if we have a CRO, they love working with this sponsor, but this sponsor's protocol template is different than this one. It's not a problem. Like, that is all okay. And we can build those templates that way. But also building the institutional templates is where you're going to increase consistency as well. Let me show you like an example in an academic center. Many times you have research in cardiovascular and pulmonary and neurology, et cetera, right? They have their own favorite templates, but the IRB says, no, use my template. And they're like, I don't want to. So it delays the whole circle in the approval process because everyone's kind of like not in agreement. But if you make
template.
Over a template, just the template. So then if you can get your institution to say, okay, it's fine that there's little nuances, but in general, this is the template, then as the researchers answer the questions, it just puts it into the template. It's like the information is there and put in. There's no worrying about this size font and underline over there. You know what I mean? Like, that stuff wastes thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours of people's time, like arguing over templates. So I think there's a lot of work that can be done there to speed things up.
Yeah, let's focus on what really matters. Like, do we really care about the templates, or if this is in bold? Is that what's important here?
Exactly. And from your perspective as a TMF, you're like, I'm sure you don't care.
No.
At all. You're like, regulation wise, I don't care. I just want the right content. And we've got to make sure we have the right documents in the right version. Exactly.
So how do you think AI helps eliminate those human errors when it comes to document management?
I think it has a very small incremental benefit when it comes to that. I think automation is what shines when it comes to that. So the reason behind that, AI, yes, can be programmed to ensure that we don't have errors and omissions, and it makes things a little more consistent. But automation ensures consistency. There is no hallucination. There is no copy and pasting errors. There's none of that rework issue. So again, I think that the AI hand in hand with the automation is going to be what's going to be the clincher for most institutions who are doing a significant amount of research.
AI is powerful, but people fear change. So what are some of like the biggest misconceptions you've seen when it comes to integrating AI into ClinOps?
I think number one is compliance. Number two is probably intellectual property. So number one, compliance wise, people are wondering, is this actually going to be any better? Because they've probably used ChatGPT. What it spit out wasn't ideal. And they're like, I don't know if I trust it. So that's why I think it's incredibly important for you to try out these unique systems designs for clinical trials, because they all had to be programmed, right? For us, we have hundreds of agents and assistants, AI agents and assistants, all trained on a specific aspect. But that had to go through validation. And on your side, if you are evaluating an AI tool, you want to try it out. See what the output is. Is this at least as good as most of my medical writing team? Does it make things faster, or is it a pain? If it's not done well, it actually is going to cost you more time in the long run. And we know the problems with protocol amendments, revisions, like those are incredibly costly. You cannot afford to be having that up front just by clicking a button, say, write my protocol. The second one that I touched on is intellectual property. We are dealing in a very high stakes environment. People's lives are riding on our clinical research and the new drugs and devices that we're developing. And obviously, companies are riding on that. And the things that you're going to want to watch out for as you evaluate different AI tools is making sure that none of that data is used as training data, and none of your data is used to populate other people's data, right? So in essence, for us though, we have multiple layers of like protection for every single enterprise and every single study and every single questionnaire set and every single document. So it's all locked down very specifically as to who should have access and when and how they can contribute. But general kind of open writers may not have that. So you're going to need to say, hey, what's your security protocol? What's your permissioning protocol, so that we ensure our IP is safe, as safe as it possibly could be.
Mm-hmm.
Are those in alignment with the questions and concerns that you've heard before?
Well, you said a couple things that kind of sparked in my brain. The first one is, are people really using ChatGPT to write protocols?
I don't blame them, right? Okay,
Right.
so they're doing the best they can. They may not have access to resources. They may not have the support, and they have an idea for research and they want to do a grant, and they think to themselves, something's better than nothing. And ChatGPT is faster than writing a protocol yourself, right? But again, if you're starting to enter that high stakes environment where you're going to have regulated drugs, regulated devices, what's going to matter is intellectual property. I would not be doing that. Please don't do that. The other hard part, like we said before, is ChatGPT doesn't know all the regional differences. It doesn't know all the regulations, and it does hallucinate. So by the beginning of your 90-page protocol, you may have said we're doing 250 people, and by the end, you're starting to see 248, 67, this over there, the statistics don't line up, and you're spending hundreds of hours rewriting little sections because it just does that.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to use AI for its benefits. And I think the benefits are helping you create that content, right? Like tell it to, hey, help me write a background. Help me do X. Help me do Y. Don't just like write a protocol looking at arrhythmias and this type of drug, because it will go wild. It'll do it for you, but it's not going to be what you want.
Right. Garbage.
Yeah. Garbage. Lots of garbage. And you'll be very sad when your research doesn't work out well or you aren't able to get it published because you hadn't thought through all the regulations and the statistical power and all of those important things.
Mm-hmm. So when we're evaluating vendors with AI and we're thinking
Hmm.
about validation, like
Yep.
how long is that process? Because I know it can be
Hmm.
cumbersome sort of with the ETMF, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure how it would work on this end.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you on my side, we do a side by side comparison. So obviously, we sign an NDA and we say, okay, let's work with you. Let's go ahead and take one of your protocols that you had before and just give me the synopsis. This is literally all we need is a synopsis. And then we let our AI assistants run with it and complete all of those components. And then we have your expert team come in and say, oh yeah, this does look right. Okay, let's change this a little bit. I want to handle monitoring that way, whatever, right? And then from that, we create the documents. And then we just look at those documents side by side. Is it helpful? Is it not? What we're finding with most of the people we work with is they're like, wow, this is way more complete than ours. Again, because of those emissions, right? We've built it in to have a nauseous level of detail. You learn over the years that the more detailed, the better, as long
Mhm.
as it's all in alignment, right? So,
Yeah,
as long as it's in alignment, the more details, the more information you can give people, the better your trial usually turns out.
I love that because we know like collaboration between CROs, sponsors, and sites, it can be sort of painfully slow. So how does like AI eliminate these bottlenecks and make that collaboration real time a
Mm-hmm.
reality?
Yeah, so I'm not so sure that AI necessarily is going to do it until we have fully agentic AI. And by agentic AI, what we mean is that maybe you enter a document into ChatGPT and it automatically fires up its group of agents and it emails it off to this person, emails it off to that person, etc. Like it creates that flow. What you're going to see again, if you have a platform that you're working with like ours,
Hmm.
you can bring in all of your stakeholders at the same time. So, how we use it is that, hey, AI will help us write little sections, but I'm going to work with you, Nicole, and I'm going to say, hey, did we really want to say X in our monitoring plan? Like, is this exactly how we're going to conduct this piece of our monitoring? And working with you, you're like, yes, let's do that. Okay, cool. Let's finalize that piece. And then you move on to the next piece. It helps you create those pieces faster. But I think a platform is still necessary in order to bring all the key stakeholders together and to look at the same thing in real time. AI right now, just the general AI, doesn't do that. It's great at creating content, but it doesn't hook all the pieces together. It doesn't do that automation. In the future, that agentic AI, where we have lots of little Nicoles working for us, in their own little robotic way, doing their one little task, we, in theory, could have that in the future.
I love that where you're just looking at the document, you got all your stakeholders, and we're editing it in real time and saying, this is what it's saying, and this is how we're operating. Is that true? We're keeping it good. Next
Good,
paragraph.
done.
Like
Exactly.
very efficient.
Yeah, that's the idea. AI is moving so fast. There's that statistic that it's doubling in capabilities at least every 6 months. I think we don't even know what the future is going to hold. Looking
Right?
back probably 3 years ago, none of us thought we'd be here. I didn't think I'd be here at this stage, moving this quickly. And as you said, it is scary. It's scary to a lot of people because we are creatures of habit, and habit usually means safety. And now having the rug kind of pulled out from under us, learning new processes is hard to adapt to. But as you're also evaluating platforms, think of ones that kind of fit into your team already, where it's not a huge lift. You don't have to spend hundreds of hours learning it, reprogramming it. Goodness, please don't get a platform that you have to program yourself. No, like there should not be any clinical trial researchers trying to create prompts. No, all of that should be kind of done for you or customized to you. Researchers should focus on research. I don't think it's a good idea to try to make your team learn how to be ChatGPT AI prompt engineers.
Right.
Use the platforms that are out there that have been validated, as you say.
Let's talk about version control because we love it in the TMF space.
Of
So,
course.
how does Easy Research Solutions sort of track and update the multiple document versions without creating that chaos?
Yeah. So, you know how we were just talking about, like, let's decide what's in this paragraph or this piece of data, and then, like, let's finalize it and move on to the next. The way that we do it is, okay, once we've all agreed on the data elements, then we just press write my documents and they write. Okay. But then invariably, right, we've got version number 2. Someone looked at it. They said, oh, we should have done 275 patients, not 250. Go back, rewrite the whole thing, right? And so at that point, you kind of unlock your digital protocol. You make those edits, you relock it, regenerate all the documents in sync.
Wow.
So you would have versioning for the entire package of documents, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got me thinking again. Because you said protocol amendment earlier. You got your protocol, you have the investigator meeting, you get all the investigators in one room and they start talking and chatting about what they love and hate about the protocol. But with Easy Research Solutions, I bet you it's cut down on how fast we're getting to the next protocol amendment.
I would even say necessarily the amendment. My hope is you don't have them. If we can create that first draft of a document, even in as low as 1 day, I'm hoping have the opportunity to loop in more of those stakeholders. So maybe you'll bring in a coordinator to say, hey, take a look at this, or a doctor at XYZ sites, or potentially even a vendor that you're going to be working with. Let's say, for example, you're working with your CTMS. You know who they are, and you're like, hey, this is going to be the data validation and the data management plan. Is this correct? So you have those opportunities now that you have more time to think through it and hopefully prevent those amendments. I heard a statistic that those amendments on general cost almost $500,000.
They're so expensive.
It's crazy. So if we can do more thought up front, the better we're all going to be. And trust me, no sites like your amendments either. They hate it. And to reconsent patients don't love them either. So whatever we can do to help you get to as close to perfect as possible out the gates is my goal.
I love that. I mean, just envisioning no protocol amendments is like mind-boggling.
It's unheard of. Yeah, exactly. Like, is that even possible? Are we sure? But I would love to try.
Right? So you've seen the industry evolve. Like, how close are we to the world where manual processes are going to be completely replaced by AI-driven systems?
I like that a lot. So to be clear, I always want humans in the loop. I truly believe that humans should be in the loop in managing these systems that use AI. AI should not be using us. We use AI. I do believe that it's not just revamping the entire documentation process, but you're seeing AI in everything now. You're seeing it in patient identification, gathering AIs, gathering the data needed for your reports. Like every single step of the way, AI is being used. Within the next 3 years, I think life is going to be massively different for a lot of us, massively. And now is an opportunity for those leading the industry to bring your ideas forward and to work with innovators because they love ideas, right? Like this is what makes us excited about being in the industry is how can I make it faster and easier? And how can I ensure humans are using their brains for what matters? And in my opinion, it is not copy and paste. So like, how can we get you there faster? In the next 3 years, you're going to see, I think, a massive reduction. I think clinical trials could cost 50% less.
I think you're right too.
And I guess we'll wait to see what that looks like. again, that's making research a lot more affordable, potentially, and even available to people who don't have that option. So let's say, for example, less advantaged countries, they don't have infrastructure to support entire research teams, and yet they have specific endemic or epidemic issues that happen regionally. They should be able to conduct research and have the ability to do so and the tools needed to do so. And I am excited because I think AI can level that playing field.
And just to think about, like, we're going to be able to conduct more studies by
I think so
saving all that
too.
time. We're going to generate more ideas.
I think so too. I think the world is going to become, I'm hoping, a healthier place by doing this, but it has to be done in the right way, which is why we have to have humans in the loop. And I'm really looking forward to, working with people like you that can really say, hey, Angie, we need this for the TMF. Like, why hasn't this been built before? It's those types of ideas on the research side and the operations side that's going to accelerate the entire industry moving forward.
So I've been dying to ask you this question. Let's talk about ROI. So what's the return of investment of using like an AI automation powered platform, and how do companies see like the measurable benefits and the cost savings, the compliance, and the efficiency?
So it depends on the complexity of the research study that you're doing, right? How many different documents you need to have. But we did an example of a phase 2 study. And we were looking at, hey, manual hours, let's pull in how much time is your billing compliance person using? Is your lawyer using? Is your operations person, your regulatory, your PI, your XYZ, right? All these people need to contribute to the development of that study. And that was over 2,000 hours to basically design the protocol, to do all of the revisions, to get it to a point where it's reasonable so that then the regulatory people can write all the study plans in order to operationalize it, right? So that process of study development, 2,000 hours sounds like a lot, but when you break it down by human being and expertise, it's seriously what's happening these days. And by using platforms that harness both AI and automation, you can cut down that first draft into literally hours. So the ROI, let's say, for example, a sponsor is able to do, as you said, more research or faster research or get you into market faster, potentially making hundreds of millions of dollars more, like outpacing your competition because you harness this technology. So that ROI stands to be very big for the pharma and device companies. For the CROs that are using it, they're harnessing it because they want to, some of them want to grow their business. They want to provide unmatched services, greater compliance, it's faster, more standardized, and they harness that digital data flow even to downstream systems. Those CROs that are looking at the global picture and are using this digital data flow and automation concept throughout the whole thing, I think they're going to shave months off of their trial. Months, easily. I think for the academic researchers, the ones that maybe they are asking their coordinator to write their protocol because they don't have time and they have a coordinator who's done it a couple of times. They've looked at it 15, so you should be good, right? Like copy and paste and things. I think they're going to reap incredible rewards in being able to do more research, to get more grants, secure more funding. And I know it's really precarious right now, especially in the US, given everything that's happening and investigators being very concerned about their ability to do research moving forward and grants and overhead and all of those things. So I'm hoping that AI can augment that. I don't want to lose academic research. That's way too critical. Honestly, I think if you trace back any development of a drug or a device, it had its heart and its concepts in academic. And if we lose that, we are going to lose, I'm just talking like as a country, as a US right now, we are going to lose a lot of those innovators. Either they're going to leave or they just won't even be able to do it, which I think is really, really sad. And I don't want to do that. So AI, not even in dollars and cents ROI, but ROI as an entire country, as an entire industry has the potential of moving it forward.
So, for anyone listening who's maybe on the fence about adopting AI and
Yeah.
clinical research process, like what's the one thing they need to understand, like right now?
It's not going away. The cat's out of the bag, as they say. There is no going back, and I know it's scary, but reach out to industry leaders. Like, you can even look on my LinkedIn. Like, you can book a 15-minute call with me. You can talk about your concerns. We don't even have to talk about documents, but the idea is, like, reach out to people who are doing this, and I think you will feel more comfortable about it. I think you will be able to have your voice heard as to how can we ensure compliance and regulations are met and those intellectual property concerns. We're afraid of usually is things that we don't know. And that's where we're at right now is helping people cross that chasm, understand AI more, understand the tools that are available, and use them for their particular use case. And if you're on the fence of, is it scary, is it exciting, please reach out to any of the industry leaders and just start having those conversations.
That's such a really good tip too, because I know a lot of people are scared that like AI and automation is going to take over their job and they're very fearful of losing their job.
Mm-hmm.
But just getting on that quick 15-minute call, like you said, and just getting that reassurance of like, where are we? What are you seeing in the industry? Hey, I saw you went to that conference. What do
Yes.
you know about X, Y, and Z?
Yes, and how to position yourself. As a clinical researcher right now, for those who are embracing the technology, there is a massive amount of opportunity. I think, not just our platform, there's going to be all types of platforms that are out there that still need that human. They still need that expert who understands AI, understands technology, and can actually convey it. So whether you're conveying it to a patient or a colleague or a customer, everybody in research, we're used to communicating. This is our job, especially in medical writing, is to take really complex situations and convey them in a way that people understand. And for those of you out there who enjoy that, now's your time to shine. There is going to be a lot of opportunities. So yes, you may not be doing the copying and pasting that you did before, but trust me, there's a lot of opportunities to use your brain power, your expertise, your network, your connections. And it's exciting. I mean, if you were, back in the day when I was doing, maybe 50 clinical trials per year, right? Like, that's about what our team did, and we're evaluating them and implementing them. But if I had the opportunity to say, wow, I think we can do 100. I think we can do this. We had researchers lined up waiting. When are you writing our protocol? When are you getting to us? When? IRB, hurry up, blah, blah, blah. I think this has the opportunity, as you said, to massively increase the amount of clinical research that's going to happen around the world. And it's not going to be the haves versus the have-nots anymore, I don't believe. I think that, again, the technology can be affordable and can reach almost anyone who has a hypothesis and a desire to do research.
You're building the future of AI in clinical research. What's the legacy you want Easy Research Solutions to leave, like in this industry?
That accessibility. Yeah, I don't really want research to be the haves versus the have-nots anymore. Do you have a big team? Do you have $1 billion budget? Do you have all of these things? Because I've seen with my own eyes, again, those brilliant clinicians who had these ideas that they were waiting 5 years to get in the queue for human beings to do their research study. And by that time, as we all know, there's new research that comes out. Sometimes you miss the boat. You could have contributed, but you didn't. What we don't know, we don't know. I don't want that anymore. And so if there are people all around the world, what I say is our company is global already. I don't care where you are. If there's a way that I can help you and our team can help you, I want to do that. That's the legacy I want to leave. Yeah.
So I always ask two of my questions for my guests at the end of the show. Number one, what's your favorite TMF document and why?
Well, I'm sure you can kind of guess. It's the protocol, of course. Because if you don't do it well, everything else suffers. But I will say the other really critical core component that I basically am trying to work with everyone to create in tandem with that protocol is the statistical analysis plan. More clinical trials fail because of lack of statistical, like really thinking through your statistical plan, your interim analysis, how are you going to conduct the study? I think there's more failures due to statistics than we are adequately capturing. And if you put those two together, you are building a solid foundation right at the beginning. And then all the other plans, all the other things can come. Absolutely. But if you don't have the statistics nailed down and your protocol nailed down really well from the beginning, everything else suffers.
What's the best career advice you've ever received and who's it by?
This may be a little counterintuitive, but I had a manager once. Actually, she was a director, so it was my first job, kind of managing a research group, early 20s. Okay, so I was biting off a bit more than I could chew. Let's be honest. And to me, all of these process things just make sense. Like I get really excited about streamlining processes and how to do all these things and getting everybody on the same page and working together on a platform. So I've been doing this a long time. And she said to me, she goes, Angie, I know that these things come really easily to you, but other people, they really don't. She's like, so we have to sit down and think through everybody's processes. How do they work? How do they work as a team? How do they work as an individual? Because the systems that we're developing mean nothing unless we are actually helping the humans that are using them, right? And so many founders run into this. They think they've created the best thing since sliced bread. You've probably worked with some of them. They put it into the world and people are like, what? I wouldn't do it like that. Well, that's not right, blah, blah. And then they're left in like this chaos because they spent a year developing what they think is the best thing in the planet. And for me, having her advice up front of like, get your stakeholders on the same page as you ASAP, and then think about all of their processes so that they don't really have to change what they're doing. This just augments what they're doing. That's going to get you to success as fast as you can. So it's not just like the don't quit and stay positive type thing. It was really, hey, consider the human beings. And that stuck with me this entire time.
Wow. What an incredible conversation we just had. You dropped some serious knowledge on how AI just completely transforms clinical research. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today.
Thank you, Nicole. It's such a pleasure to be here. Look forward to working with you. And one little last bit of knowledge that I'd love to throw in there is I do believe this digital data flow is going to be a thing. So there are going to be documents that are flowing. There's going to be data that's going to be flowing in the next 3 years. So I'm excited about that because that means I'll get to work with you even more. Thank you.